Like they say, there's no such thing as good money or bad money. There's just money.
But boss, how do you consider what we're doing a job? We're just scamming people.
What? What's the matter with you? Look, I told you, the majority of jobs are bullshit jobs. All the jobs could have been automated a long time ago. The whole economy's fake. If you listen to anything that guy Ajahn told you, you will end up being a loser like me. Now go on, get out of my before I get angry.
The entire money-structured and materialistic-oriented society is a false society. False society. False society.
False society.
You know how in the 90s the zombie politicians used to say, it's the economy, stupid. Well, did they even know what they're talking about? What is an economy? Well, looking at the Greek definition, the original Greek definition, it means management of a household, which is increasing efficiency and reducing waste. And when it comes to efficiency, we're talking about social efficiency, technical efficiency, as well as resource efficiency, which is really, it comes down to environmental preservation. And so economic efficiency is the topic of today's video. And I'm going to make the argument that capitalist or free market efficiency is not the same as a real world or technical efficiency. And it's this disconnect from technical efficiency that the market has, which is the real source of most of today's problems. And so it's important to note that structural goals of economic systems have the largest impact on people's behavior and culture as a whole. The hunter-gatherers, for example, had a system of mutual exchange of resources, aka a gift economy. They were nomads, moving to different locales based on the seasons, and they had no settlements. Since they were nomads, the idea of private property was pointless to them because they were always on the move. And we see this type of behavior today with the Amazonian rainforest tribes. And so looking at the free market capitalist economy, there are three general rules that have been maintained through every major market variation of the last 12,000 years. Number one is employment, or labor for income. Obviously, people have to have a job in order to make money, spend back into the economy, keeping it going. Number two is all goods have property value, bought and sold through the market process. Number three is the incentive psychology, which is competitive self-interest, which means people and corporations are all looking to make the most money and save the most money by reducing their costs. And overall, constant economic growth is needed to keep people employed. It's important to mention the concept of POSSEWID, a word coined by engineer Stafford Beer. POSSEWID stands for Purpose of System is what it does, not what it is meant to do. And so based on this concept, we see that when we put these three general structural goals into dynamic interplay, they result in creating the world that we see around us. And some of these results are the environmental and social crises that the world is currently facing. And this is the answer to people who say that we have crony capitalism, and that we have too much state intervention, and that we have too much greedy corporations that have to be dealt with. So those arguments are false because, like I said, the purpose of a system is what it does, not what it is officially meant to do. And whether we've had feudalism, mercantilism, systems of barter and trade, or modern day capitalism, which started about 600 years ago, they have all had the same three general rules. So you cannot argue that any of these, that we've never had a true free market. And so back to economic efficiency. The type of efficiency that's sought after in capitalism is clearly cost efficiency. And whether you're a person or a corporation, your goal is going to be to save money and reduce your overall costs. It's all about making money. So everyone in the world right now, corporations, people overall, they just want to make the most money and spend the least money. And the only cost that's taken into consideration, again, is money cost. And I know I'm repeating myself a lot here, but it's extremely important for us to realize this, money cost, because it's going to really play into the points that I'm going to make later in the video. Environmental and social costs like pollution, poverty, climate change, resource depletion are simply not taken into consideration unless money can be made off of solving them. This is why it's okay for a corporation to clear cut the forest as long as they can use that lumber to make money, to make profits. And this is why the phone that I'm using to shoot this video has a protocol of planned obsolescence built into it, which means almost every good that is produced by our economy must be intentionally designed to break down so that you have to buy a new one for constant consumption to keep the system going. Cyclical consumption, hence the economic goal of infinite growth. Because remember, in this system, without growth, you can't create new jobs. And this is why, to a company like Apple, it is profitable to create phones that break down on purpose and thrown away. However, these phones have precious minerals like gold, copper, and coltan that are finite. They take a long time to regenerate, much longer than a human lifespan. So it is totally negligent from an environmental efficiency standpoint to do this. Now, it's also financially smart for Apple to outsource their labor to poor countries where they can exploit slave labor in sweatshops.
Oh, I don't know. Is it that we collectively thought Steve Jobs was a great man, even when we knew he made billions off the backs of children?
You know, don't tell me to go buy Samsung if I don't like it. Every company in this system has to resort to these tactics in order to stay competitive in the market game. Because at the end of the day, it's just a silly game. That's all it is. It's just a silly game. And this is why we're not dealing with a true economic system. Capitalism is an anti-economic system. Because from the standpoint of real physical, environmental, and social efficiency, it wastes the resources of the planet as well as people's lives just to keep this infinite growth machine going. And this is why we have giant, massive, gigantic landfills all over the world filled with garbage. And based on recent surveys, like almost 85% of people hate their jobs. So, I mean, how the hell are we economizing anything? Man, you know, wouldn't it be so great if every breath of air, every blade of grass had a dollar sign attached to it and it was up for sale? You know, as crazy and irrational as that sounds, believe it or not, in this economy, which is all about turnover for sales, that would be great for GDP. You know, and that's why in our world, all kinds of ridiculous, crazy things happen that should never happen, but only take place because of the fact that people and corporations need to sell stuff. They need to sell their crap to make money. That's what the system's all about. So why should we ever be surprised? That is also why seemingly unethical things that corporations do to save money are completely justifiable within their framework of thinking. Was Bill Clinton a bad person for signing NAFTA, where we outsource jobs overseas, costing millions of Americans to suffer? Or was it simply the cost efficiency mechanism at work? Why do we still have tobacco companies and oil companies when we clearly know that cigarettes cause cancer and emphysema, and that the burning of oil and fossil fuels is contributing to the destruction of our ecosystem? Could it be that they're part of the economy? Why isn't every car in the world electric by now? The truth is that they could have been for over 20, 30 years. And why is food production in the United States not local and instead travels from far distances? The average American meal travels 1,500 miles before reaching a plate, causing tons of resource waste and pollution. It is not too far-fetched to say that capitalism is an ecocidal and genocidal system. You know, ecocidal in the sense that if we overfish the oceans, destabilize our atmosphere, and destroy all biodiversity, and genocidal in the sense that if we have mass starvation and chronic illness, those problems are not even looked at as real costs by our system. They're simply calculated as externalities, not real costs. Remember, the only cost that matters to this system is money cost, and that's it. Remember, the purpose of a system is what it does, not what it is meant to do. And it's idiotic, simpleton logic to make excuses to defend capitalism, saying that people are just greedy. This is why corporations act the way they do. Nope, incorrect. Because going back to point 3, which is the incentive psychology of competitive self-interest, corporations will only act in terms of what's best for them, not what's important for the environment or for the well-being of people. And you also can't justify capitalism by saying that there's not enough resources to go around. Because statistically, the US and the United Kingdom throw out half of what they produce. So the argument that we can't feed everybody is simply not true. This is an economic issue. And you cannot hold corporations to ethical standards when they automate and put people out of work. Because what do you expect? Do you expect them to act against their own self-interest? And there's the grave contradiction of capitalism right there. In our system, it's based on labor for income. Jobs have to exist, but they're all going away to machines. And even though all the trends show that machine automation has been and continues to remove millions of jobs from the labor force, the system is simply not catching up and adapting to this change. Other than putting people on welfare, which is not an acceptable standard of living for anybody. And although the service sector is the predominant employer in the world today, it is actually the easiest sector out of all of them to automate, which is going to happen either way. So what are we to do? Keep creating fake, pointless jobs? Or how about we transition to a system where machines are used to create an abundance and meet all human needs? But What we're seeing instead is the deliberate withholding of social efficiency just to keep the economy going. And don't forget, in a system of competition and hierarchy, the poor have to exist in order for the rich to exist. And if you believe in the fantasy utopian notion that everyone can be a millionaire if they work hard for it, just remember, posse weed. The purpose of the system is what it does, not what it is meant to do. And if capitalism was going to create an opportunity for everyone to be rich, it would have done it a long time ago. Well, clearly it has not. So again, when you look back at the definition of an economy, which is to maximize efficiency and reduce waste, you see that capitalism is an anti-economic system. And don't expect there to be any resolution to climate change, resource overshoot, or pollution either. Because solving those problems, sadly, would result in trillions of dollars of losses for corporations and the absolute collapse of our growth-based economic system. By the way, infinite growth in a finite setting is the ideology of the cancer cell. And I mean, it's comical how slowing down economic growth has been one of the only ways to drastically reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, yet economic growth is what's demanded by our system. That's the only way it operates. Says a lot about the point of infinite growth anyway, other than to put money into the pockets of corporations. Put simply, I'm sorry guys, our economic system is completely lifeline, since there is absolutely no incentive to preserve resources or human well-being. The only incentive is a narrow-minded, short-sighted pursuit of profits, regardless of environmental and social costs. This is why the medical industry is a big part of the economy. But what does it reflect? It reflects the amount of sick and dying people. And look, I'm just getting tired of repeating myself, guys. Capitalism had its uses hundreds of years ago, but it has long outlived its usefulness. Now, as far as books that I recommend as to why capitalism is a life-blind, inefficient system, there's this book right here. It's been sitting here the whole video. I love this book, The Cancer Stage of Capitalism by Dr. John McMurtry. He does an incredible job cutting straight to the bone and exposing the system that really operates no different than a cancer. Okay, I really recommend you check this out. It's very wordy, but if you really want the best answer in exposing the system, how it operates truly like a disease, this is the book to check out. And book number 2 is The New Human Rights Movement by Peter Joseph. Basically, the first half of the book, he goes into great detail again, exposing the system and showing that it really is not working for our long-term interest. In the second half of the book, he shows certain economic transitions that we can make into a new social model that really is all about public health and environmental preservation. And in conclusion, guys, I want to say that in the next video, please tune in into what a real economic system is all about, one that has a structural goal of preserving the environment and maximizing public health. This is the concept of technical efficiency, and it is a hallmark of a true economic system. This is a system that is arrived at by using scientific analysis, meaning taking an inventory of what resources are at our disposal and being absolutely sure to meet all human needs while using these resources in the most strategic, sustainable manner. And to finish, look guys, we gotta get rid of the system before it gets rid of us. This anti-economic shit has got to go. That's all, folks. That's all, folks. You gotta love it. Fake economy, huh? Fake economy. Here you go.
Population control is dependent upon education. We feel an educated population needs no control.
You wouldn't stop sex?
No, sir.
Good move, Jacques.